Hello and welcome to the Album Man. Today I'm finally caught up with my CDs and vinyl I bought recently series, and I'm going to be doing it for February 2015. So definitely a mixture of both CDs and vinyl, definitely more vinyl. So we'll begin with the CDs. We'll start with Nick Drake's 5 Years Later. So I've been listening to Pink Moon a lot, which I got for Christmas, and I just absolutely love that album. So I saw 5 Leaves Later, which I've now just dropped. That's great. Yeah, okay. I was just saying, yeah. So I've been liking Pink Moon quite a lot. So I decided to check this album out. This was his debut, and I definitely like it a lot. I do admit I prefer the more sort of stripped back, just acoustic sound that he has on Pink Moon. I mean, there's piano in like one section on the title track, and here the arrangement's a bit fuller, more instruments involved, and maybe doesn't feel quite as genuine Nick Drake, but the songwriting, still the core, just emotion this guy spills out is still there. Definitely my second favourite of his, well, 3 albums, yeah. Next we have a bit of a classic, Jimi Hendrix Experience's Electric Ladyland. Often heralded as his best album by many, not by me. I would say it's his second best. I would say my favourite has to be the debut, to be honest. I think that's better. This album, it was originally a double on vinyl, of course, and it can be a bit bogged down by that. Yes, it's very experimental, very influential, and has some absolute classics: Crosstown Traffic, Voodoo Chili, and Voodoo Child. And yes, I mean, I get confused between the two all the time, and to be honest, even Hendrix himself apparently actually also got a bit confused between them. All on the Watchtower as well. There's really just a lot of good songs on this album, but there's also a lot of kind of experimental meandering and randomness, and I mean, I do like my psychedelic, I do like my weirdness in 60s music, but at the time sometimes this can be a bit too, okay Hendrix, just turn it down a bit, let's just actually get some song going. Obviously still a classic. I absolutely love this album. Paradise Lost's Shades of God. I've only really given this the one listen, and this is just a really enjoyable Paradise Lost album. I like them a lot. If you like gothic metal, you're going to like this band. I would recommend Draconian Times first. I wouldn't necessarily start Shades of God. I decided to buy a couple of sort of indie bands when I was in Manchester's vinyl exchange. Cage the Elephant's Melophobia and Cymbals Eat Guitars, what the hell is this called? Why There Are Mountains. And both of these albums, I would say I found Cage the Elephant the more enjoyable of the two. It's kind of indie rock, kind of a bit of an, I don't know, an alternative rock vibe, I suppose. And it's fairly enjoyable. It definitely hasn't blown my mind, but it's a nice slab of indie-tinged rock, I suppose. And then Why There Are Mountains, I haven't listened to this really enough to pass judgment on it. I've just given a few tracks a listen here and there, and it seems promising, but I don't really want to say too much about it, because I don't really know what I think of it. Let's get into the vinyl. The vinyl, yes. Okay, the first thing we have is something pretty damn cool in my opinion. Imagine by John Lennon. Of course, John Lennon, what more to say? What more to say about Imagine? And this is his second solo album, and definitely my favourite of his solo albums. The two standout tracks being, of course, the track Imagine, which just mind-blowing, absolutely fantastic song, and How Do You Sleep, the kind of vicious attack on Paul McCartney, but also to an extent on himself, and just the ways that the Beatles acted post-breakup, I suppose. This album definitely does have some rougher patches on it. I'm not going to call it one of my absolute favourite albums of all time, but, I mean, it's Lennon. I love Lennon. How could I not? From freaking Liverpool. Okay, next, something quite different indeed from Lennon. Focus's Live at the Rainbow. Focus, if you don't know who they are, this is a really cool gatefold, by the way. I've never seen this version of the album before. I only got it for like £2, so that's cool. Focus are a Dutch prog band, most famous for their song Hocus Pocus, which is the best song to ever feature yodeling, without a shadow of doubt. And this featured a live version of the yodeling guitar solo, epic, with Jan Ackerman soloing away, and Fij van Leer fluting and yodeling, and I just love Focus. I think they're one of the best 70s prog bands, to be honest, and this is their best album. You want to know where to start with Focus? Either their studio album Moving Waves or the live album Live at the Rainbow, one of my favourite live albums of all time. The versions of, as I said, Hocus Pocus, of Focus 3, of Sylvia, just stunning. End to end, there's such an energy, such a buzz to this. Musicians are at the top of their game. This is prog at its best. Really is. Okay, next song I bought. So these ones I bought in a little record shop in a place called Chester, and the record shop's called The Land of Grey and Pink, named after the Caravan album with the same name, one of my favourite prog albums of all time. And I got some damn nice stuff from it for pretty damn cheap as well. It's something of a quid, which I haven't actually listened to yet, but The Mission's Children, is it just called Children? Yeah, it's just called Children. I do know the track, what track do I indeed know? There's a track on here I do know, but I don't know what it is, which shows how much I know it. I don't know what I'm talking about. And The Mission, I've never really been able to get into this type of music, like The Cult, The Mission, Killing Joke, that type of goth thing, but what I've heard of The Mission, I've kind of preferred them to The Cult, who I just don't like at all. I don't really know why I don't like them, because Ian Astbury has a cool voice, I mean, he sounds a lot like Jim Morrison, but I just can't get into them. A band I'm certainly into, an album I freaking love. Molly Hatchet's Flirting with Disaster. Molly Hatchet, one of the best Southern rock bands. If you like Skynyrd, you like Black Crowes, 38 Special, Allman Brothers, and you don't know Molly Hatchet, I just don't even know how you don't know Molly Hatchet if you know all those bands, to be quite honest. This and their self-titled debut album really are absolute classics. After these two, they'd sort of fall away from Southern rock a bit, but also the album covers. I mean, look at this. If that doesn't just scream of epicness to you, then I really don't know what will. Just fantastic album, end to end, love it. This was an interesting one. I talked on my review of Adrenaline Mob's EP, which was pretty crap of covers, that, they did a cover of a Pat Travers song called Snort and Risky, and I didn't actually know who Pat Travers was before then, and I checked out some of his stuff, and damn, I was really seriously impressed. This Canadian rock guitarist with bluesy flair to him, was like, this is freaking awesome. And I just happened to see his sort of famous live album, Go For What You Know, for only a couple of quid. So it's like, hell yes, and this is fantastic. Absolutely, really just such a good album. Canadian blues rock, really at its absolute best. Such an energy, such a vibe. Just like Focus's Live at the Rainbow, to be honest. One of those live albums like that. And another live album. Love live albums this time. Scorpions Tokyo Tapes. This is really airly, raw Scorpions. Is this when still Ollie John Ruff is in the band? I honestly can't even remember. Yes, I think he seems to have been. Yeah, this is definitely very different to the Worldwide Live lineup. Worldwide Live is the better live album, let's be honest. But if you sort of want a best of the sort of the earlier, before Blackout, Love and First Sting, Love Drive, that sort of earlier Scorpions, this is the way to go. This is a very good live album of the earlier stuff, and it really showcases it, I would say, to its full potential. I do prefer the more famous stuff of the Scorpions, I'm not going to lie, and I don't think this is as good as Worldwide Live. But if you want something maybe a bit harder edged, a bit less commercial than the Scorps, this might be your album. The album that the band never endorsed and it was released against their will. How could I resist getting Heart's magazine? I love Heart. I talk about Heart quite often on this channel. I think I own most of their discography now. I really don't think there's that much left of certainly their 70s and 80s output for me to get. I think Heart are just one of the most wonderful, underrated bands of the 70s. So many people dismissed them as, Zeppelin copies, just Zeppelin clones. And yeah, they do like the best cover of Stairway to Heaven. It's the best version that isn't done by Zeppelin. I mean, they are very good at doing Zeppelin-esque things, and on their albums such as like Little Queen, yes, can you hear a Led Zeppelin free vibe to that album? Sure. But do they add their own unique sound? Yes, I would say Ann and Nancy Wilson really add their own unique flair to this. And you can't forget the influence of Roger Fisher as well, the lead guitarist. This album is well, this has the sisters and Roger Fisher. This is not one of their best albums. I mean, this was released against their will on Mushroom Records, and you can kind of tell it feels a bit more like an EP. To be honest, it doesn't have. I wouldn't say really. I mean, I like Magazine. I like Heartless. I like Without You. I wouldn't say this really has any particular heart classics, and it's a skip for all but the heart diehards, I suppose. But hey. It's worth owning for me. This was a cool find. Anvils forged in the fire. Some Canadian sort of traditional heavy metal and that sort of new album style. And this is cool. This is cool. End to end. I'm pretty sure they're Canadian. I think so. But yeah, what are the best songs on here? Free as the Wind is freaking amazing. Motor Mount I like quite a bit. Butter Buster Jerry is not the best. Forged in Fire. That's a classic. This is such a good album. This is possibly... I'm moving on whether I prefer this to Metal on Metal. I mean, they are the only two Anvil albums I know. But I might prefer this as an overall album to Metal on Metal. I find it a little more consistent, even if it doesn't have, well, Metal on Metal, which is just their best song, as cliche as I'm going to be. Black Sabbath's Live at Last. It certainly did take a while for Sabbath to release a live album, and this was the result. And it's a pretty damn good set, to be honest. I mean, it has War Pigs, Paranoid, what you'd expect, but the cool stuff it has is Killing Yourself to Live, the most underrated song from Sad Bloody Sabbath. I wish they'd still play that live. In fact, I wish they'd play anything from Sad Bloody Sabbath live instead of just playing a little excerpt of it in the encore. They play Cornucopia, which I definitely wasn't expecting on a live album, and Tomorrow's Dream as well. So they play some slightly deeper cuts as well as the obvious, you know, I mean, obviously they play Children of the Grave, you know. The sound quality here, it's certainly passable. Well, maybe a bit more than passable. But it's not the best produced live album I've ever heard in my life. But I still don't think that detracts from it. Is it a classic Sabbath album? No, I wouldn't say it's a particularly great live album. But should a Sabbath fan... Is this worth owning for a Sabbath fan? Sure. Why not? But go for the classic studio albums first. I wouldn't really say Sabbath have any particularly great live albums. I even think Live Evil with Dio is not the best live album ever, and I'm a massive Dio fanboy, so that says something. Okay, this was cool for like £1 or £2, I can't remember, it's pretty damn cheap, but Extreme's Porno Graffiti. At long last I own this album. An album which I said I would never own. I tried getting into Extreme about a year ago, and I failed, quite honestly. I failed quite badly. I didn't enjoy it. But slowly I've been sort of getting into Nuno Bettencourt's guitar, and also just the song More Than Words. That ballad I've just become utterly obsessed with over the last few months, and I overplay that thing to death. It's just, it's so good. Freaking Nuno is awesome. And Gary Sharon, even after the abomination of Van Halen 3, I can still respect the hell out of him as a singer. And yeah, Get the Funk Out's good. This is a good album by Extreme. It's not my usual taste of metal, I suppose. A bit maybe funkier at times. It's interesting. It's interesting. I wouldn't say it's a classic though, like some hold it up to be. I saw a bunch of Rat albums in this shop, and I went for this one quite literally because of the cover. I mean, look at it. It is a bunch of, well, rats on a woman's leg. That was my entire logic for picking this album. I mean, I have been wanting to listen to some Rats for a little while. I mean, they're a bit cheesy. Just a tad bit cheesy. I haven't listened to it yet, I'll admit, so I can't really say anything on it. And on that weird album cover, we end this month's CDs and vinyl I bought recently for February 2015. So yeah, this has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, kindly subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.